Hey guys, Gaming Geek here with a tutorial video on speed painting the Corvus Cabal. These are the miniatures for Warcry, and I am going to show you how to quick paint this model, which is the Shrike Talon, because this is the hardest model to paint, and the color scheme is going to be the same between this and all of the other models. And so we'll go ahead and show you how to paint this using mostly washes and some contrast paints, and you can knock these out pretty quickly doing that. We will base all of these spray painted with white primer. I don't use Citadel's primer paints because they're too expensive. I just use $4 rattle cans. My favorite is the 2x cover from Rustoleum, and just paint these white. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first step we're going to do is paint the flesh, and you got two options here: contrast color Guilliman flesh or the flesh wash. If you haven't seen my video comparing the different paints and which one is best, go ahead and click here and check out my comparison. But I'm going to go ahead and use Guilliman flesh, although the results are going to be pretty darn close, because here we see two of them where this one is Guilliman flesh and this one is Army Painter flesh tone, and there's slightly a little bit more contrast and a little bit more darkness with Guilliman flesh, but it's pretty darn close. So you can pick either one, doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and take Guilliman flesh. So anything that's going to be skin is what we're going to be painting here, and it is sort of hard to see underneath because it's really not going to be that visible. So just go ahead and get all of this. Doesn't matter too much if you get some onto the straps, but putting in a coat of that. Most of the time people aren't going to be picking it up, and so won't even see this area that much. But more importantly is the sections for his arms, which is right here, and this is more visible, and his hands. No, actually he's wearing a glove there. So looking at the reference, so I'll just have to go over that later with the darker brown. And then go ahead and do his legs down here. Next I'm going to be using contrast color Space Wolves Gray. If you look at the guide, it's a darker bluish gray pants that they have, and I wanted a lighter color than what they're showing here. If you want the darker color, go ahead and just use the black Templar that we're going to use on the wings. But I wanted more of a lighter bluish grayish color, and as you can see here, it's lighter, and so I wanted more of a contrast between the black with the wings and the cloth. So here you have a decision to make. Again, the basic color scheme here on the box is there is a lot of black because these are crows, right? So my intention is still to have the feathers be black, but I want to distinguish the leather or the cloth. So his hood, I think I'm going to go more with the dark brown for that instead of doing that black. But if you want to do black, you can go ahead and use the same black Templar that you're going to use for the wings, also for the hood, as well as this cloth part on the wings. So what I'm going to do now is grab the contrast Wildwood color and basically do all of the cloth. And as you can tell, this is pretty dark. And the reason why I'm not doing black is because I do want there to be more colors in this color scheme. And so much of what I see with how Games Workshop painted their miniatures is there's a lot of black. And I want a little bit more alternative colors. And so one of the things you can see here is that's why I had the gray pants, and I also included made their hair red. So here on the box they have red sort of from, I don't know, biting off crow's heads. I don't know why they all have blood here around their necks, but I wanted something a little bit brighter, and so I think having that splash of red for their hair is a good accent color. But this brown also helps to distinguish. Otherwise, you know, when everything is black, you don't see much difference, or it's hard to tell the difference between where the feathers start and where this cloth ends and all that kinds of stuff. So I like varying it up a little bit here. So I'll go ahead and do all of this cloth as well as down here, this too, and all of the strapping and his belt. But I'm going to wait until his pants dry a little bit because I don't want it to run. But I'll come back after I do all of these sections. So this is what it looks like. Here are all of the parts that I painted with the wildwood. And make sure to get the belt and the shoulder strap underneath there. And you can use wildwood now for this next step to paint the wood for these stilts. But just to vary it a little bit so that the leather is different color from the wood, I'm going to use contrast snakebite leather. If you don't have this color, it's fine just to use the wildwood. And I wouldn't worry too much if you get some onto these other parts, because you're going to be painting over it. Make sure to get his shoes as well. And see how the snakebite is a little bit lighter color, and so it just distinguishes it from the wildwood color up here. So this is what the snakebite leather looks like on the wooden stilts. And then now we're going to go ahead and do black Templar, and all of the wings and feathers will be done with this. So you want to be careful because I didn't wait till all of the wildwood was finished drying. So just be careful in the spots where it touches up against it to make sure that doesn't run together. And normally on a figure that has so much black, I would prime it black first. So this is the first time that I'm using contrast paints to do all of this black. And my regular method is just to, after I spray paint everything black, just highlight and dry brush with gray. And that usually works pretty well. But because I want to do quick painting, I really want to see how well this contrast paint comes out when we're doing blacks. So again, you got to be careful. Make sure it doesn't run. And if you want to be real safe, just wait until the other colors are dry before you do this step. So basically I'm going to do all of this and the rest of the wings. there are feathers down here tied into the pants, bottom of the pants. So I went ahead and put black here and on the straps down here for the feet, and on all of the feathers except for this top crust, which I'm going to make red. But other than that, I'm going to actually wait for this to dry before I move on, because I don't want this dark black to run anywhere else. So now take any kind of gold. I have ancient bronze here, and you're just going to do the buckle. This little cog. Now grab your silver. Do these claws down here, and then these hooks back here. And then also the talons on his fingers. I'm going to use Golden Blond, or use any really light tan. And we're going to do the strapping. As well as here. And then up here too. Now go ahead and grab some Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to do all of the bones. So you should have left these white. Also the buckle. These straps down here provide a little bit of shade. And then on these guys, you want to put them on the skull part of their mask. Now grab your Nuln oil or your dark tone, and you're going to go on your silver. Don't forget the claws up here. The effect is pretty subtle, so. I'm going to use this Contrast Blood Angels Red. I'm not super impressed with this as a contrast color, but since I have it, I'm going to use it. You can use any color, accent color that you want, or you can just go with what they have, which is black. But I'm going to go ahead and provide a little bit of color here with this red. And this just creates a color focal point. And here for the buckle, I'm going to go back to my black Templar and just really lightly touch these parts on the buckle. And it's pretty subtle. You don't want it to be too dark. Like that. Now I'm going to grab my white, and I always use craft paint for white and black because I use so much of it. Outer feathers. like so. Put some Astrogranite on the base. So after dry brushing the base with a lighter gray, I go ahead and glue some skeletons from this box and paint it white and use Seraphim Sepia to go over the white. And then I add a couple of these tufts to the bases, and they're pretty much done. And don't forget to spray a coat of varnish, matte varnish on these guys. I prefer to use Testors. So I definitely do like the way that he turned out, and using the contrast paints definitely was faster than just priming everything black and then painting over that and then putting a wash on or doing highlighting on the feathers. And so I'm pretty impressed that I didn't have to highlight the feathers with some light gray to make it stand out more. The contrast paints actually does a pretty good job with the black, although the deep dark parts of the black is a little bit muted, so it's not quite as dark as you would get in a straight black. But I have to say, for speed painting, it definitely helps a lot because I'm putting just one coat of paint on most of this model. So that really does help speed up the painting process quite a bit. And so I am fairly impressed with the contrast paints and how they worked out. Again, not all the contrast paints are that great, but these colors I think works out super well for the Corvus Cabal. So go ahead and click subscribe and like if this video was really helpful for you. I'm going to come out with more quick painting tutorials. Next is going to be the Unmade, which should be fairly easy to paint as well. But go ahead and enjoy these last screenshots and close-ups of the whole crew.